Hello, I am Kathy L. Moore, and you're listening to the K4 podcast, where our mission is to inspire women to fulfill their God given purpose by seeking a Christ centered life through kingdom proof living. Listen and enjoy the journey to kingdom proof living. So, our today's topic is What's in Your Purse with our special guest, Wendye Savage. Welcome, Wendye. Please tell listeners about yourself.
Okay, my name is Wendye Savage. I'm an author, a poet, a mental health advocate, and a life coach, overcomer, and woman of God. I'm a grandmom. I'm a mom. I'm a United States Army veteran, and I'm pleased to be here this morning.
Well, we're so glad to have you too. Welcome again. And I'm also a Army veteran, so thank you for your service.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you. So, Wendye, as I was looking over your bio, I read that again, like you mentioned that you're a poet, you're a mental health advocate, and you're also an advocate for domestic violence. So,
Yes.
could you please share your story of if you feel comfortable with your domestic violence story?
Okay. It could be said it started at the age of 15. After my parents' separation, my mom dated a guy next door, had 5 sons, and two of those 5 sons sexually abused me. Right, I shoved it onto the mat and kept it moving because I thought it was my fault. Later on in life, I was depressed with a mentally abusive marriage. Couldn't figure out why I was so depressed. I went and got a book on depression. So in the meantime, the backlash of sexual abuse left me not wanting to have sex at all. I didn't think about having sex, but when I did, I was a master at pleasing, right? Couldn't
Mhm.
figure it out. So when I read this book on depression, some words came about that really blew my mind. And the word said to make them defenseless under me. That's my reason for being so pleasing, to make them, my partner, defenseless under me, as I've helped defenseless under my sexual abusers. After that, I went into a complete rage. Poof! Didn't know what to do with it. So after that, I said, what am I going to do with this rage, right? So I set some chairs or some pillows down, and I beat them pillows like it's for all they were worth. I even
Mhm.
castrated one of them, and the anger went away. Okay, then I said, in a marriage, he was mentally abusive. All during my marriage, he was mentally abusive. I met him in the military, and I got married for the wrong reasons. I got married, I was pregnant. And there were warning signs that I absolutely ignored because I ignored them.
Mhm.
At first, it was like I felt he was still in love with somebody else, and I kept saying, I think you're still in love with this person, and he would say, no, I'm in love with you, and I'd take him back. Warning sign number one. Warning sign number two. After I became pregnant, about to get married, I was so distraught about not coming home with a husband. I was like, oh my god, I was in Germany. I was like, okay, you're pregnant, you're not going home without a husband, right?
Mhm.
But in the meantime, he said one key thing that was the onset of everything else. He said, when you marry me, you're going to think you are in prison.
Oh.
Yes. So it turns out we moved his home to Washington State. They moved to his hometown, which is a very antisocial place. I had no friends there. I had no family there. I had no driver's license. I had no phone, no wash machine, and nothing like that. I had children back to back.
Mhm.
With him being calling me ugly and not giving me money to buy anything with, like that. I washed clothes in a bathtub, and he criticized that. So I came home for a vacation after my child. My youngest child was like 3 months old. I had 5 children at the time, but I came home depressed. But each time I was depressed my whole marriage practically. But each time I came home, the depression lifted. I was out of the situation. Okay, so then when I came home to my mother, who's also mentally abusive, I would come home to her thinking, for some type of recharge or something. But she would tell me out of nowhere, you're nothing but the devil. You need to be on your knees, somewhere praying. So I go back to him 3 times. Then I came back on the third time. Then I realized that the depression wouldn't lift. And that's another story.
So when you said that you had warning signs, because in relationships we have warning signs, but sometimes under the guise of listening to erroneous teaching,
Mm-hmm.
or like you said, we don't want to. You've already dealt with the shame of sexual abuse, um, physical abuse. So now you find yourself pregnant. So was it because of your Christian beliefs that you were like, I can't come home pregnant and not married?
Yes, and my just I was brought up like that. You should be married for have children and things like
Right.
that. And like, okay, I was like, okay, how can I go home with a husband and I'm pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
And I just had complete tunnel vision. I was focused on that alone. I was like, oh my god.
Mm-hmm. So
Yes.
you went through the domestic violence or sexual abuse. Now you're in a marriage that you knew deep down that you should not have been in. During these times, what was your relationship like with God?
Because of the sexual abuse, I would read the Bible, but I would also be condemning myself according to what I read.
Mm-hmm.
And my connection wasn't as strong as it could have been. I would read. I felt like the bad person,
Mm-hmm.
so I felt like I was a bad person. I didn't get the connection from God, like love and things of that nature. I thought I was being frowned upon.
So, what can you share with our listeners? How did you overcome the shame and guilt to know that God still loves you, that Jesus still loves you? Because we come to God through Jesus, right? So, what can you share with our listeners that are going through or have overcome what your domestic violence, sexual abuse, but they just feel like they still don't have a purpose? How did you
Um,
realize through your circumstances, through your hurt, your pain, your trauma, that God still wants to use you for his purpose, that you still have a God-given purpose?
okay, like I said, I was in the house a lot, and I kicked being in there. My main thing was I gotta get out of this house. I gotta get out of this house. But the house actually became my healing spot.
Oh.
God put me in a position where I had to face me.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're by yourself, the first person to think about is yourself, your past, everything else. So he began to deal with me on forgiveness. That was a very powerful thing. I had to forgive my mother. I had to forgive my abusers. I had to evaluate myself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Meaning, okay, they did X, Y, Z, but how you play into this?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you stay? Why did you marry? Yeah, you have to analyze your own motives, why you do things. I did. And after that, the God began to. You don't forget what happened ever. You don't forget what somebody said or did. But once you truly forgive them, you can remember it without having the negative emotions attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I really wanted to I wanted to be called God's daughter. I don't want a title. I don't want that jazz. I just want to be called God's daughter.
Uh,
And I wanted to work for him in some capacity.
mm-hmm.
So, and to speed things up, I took care of my mom after she retired for like, she became sick and bedridden. It was 5, 6 years I took care of her. And it was horrific. It was like a traumatic experience. But I hadn't forgiven her from the past, and she's really being the same and worse in right now.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I tried to forgive her today, tomorrow she would do something totally again, and I go back to unforgiveness, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the process of that, I learned, it's a long story. Anyway, I learned to take care of myself. But I put in her needs first, and disregarding myself, or she being unselfish, all these kind of things. And once I did that, I realized I had a purpose in life. No, back up. I'm also a poet. So my way out of that situation was to write poetry for our local paper. I
Mm-hmm.
had a huge following, and people like saying I put things in about depression and things like that. And at first I was afraid to. I was, that's something said do it because other folks that are in your position don't know what to do. So
Right.
I had a huge following in that. And then I started realizing, hey, you're actually helping people, right? So I became more transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out my purpose and calling was to serve other people. I didn't know what capacity that was.
Right.
After I got after I got my healing, because I was seeing a psychiatrist every 3 months, and then she said, "Wendy, where you writing this poetry at? In the environment that you're in, you're not depressed." So and through it all, God delivered me through my writing, and she gave me off some medication for depression.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah,
Yes. That
yeah,
just lets us know that God still performs miracles.
He does.
Jesus performs miracles each and every day.
He does.
And that is just so awesome that you have that testimony. So, how did your sexual abuse, domestic violence lead you to develop what's in your purse? Tell our listeners what's in your purse. What is the meaning of what's in your purse?
What baggage are you holding on to that's preventing you to be the best that you possibly can be?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that, okay, because all this stuff happened to me, right? I thought I wasn't blessed. I thought it was me.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept hearing the word go in my spirit. I kept hearing the word go. So if I asked God, well, what does go mean? Go and tell him what I've done for you. I done delivered you out of this mental illness. I delivered you out of sexual abuse. I brought you out of this marriage. A list of things. Go and tell them what I've done for you. So I started the book, sharing my testimony on different areas of my life of brokenness, anger, unforgiveness, and low self-esteem, blah, blah, blah. And then I put journal prompts for women to soul search themselves to get to the root of what's going on with them. Then I have poetry in there, I have scripture, and I have prayer.
That's good.
Thank
So,
you.
what's in your purse is really asking women, like you said, what baggage are you holding on to? Because we know that we can have, and let's think about a physical purse, right? I know
Mm-hmm.
my purse, when a family member might home, they was like, what is this purse? It's so heavy. What do you have in this purse? And then when I go in and look at it, I might have some paper, gum, paper, makeup, my wallet, all these things, not realizing that, okay, you're carrying this purse, it's heavy. Eventually, you can cause your rotor cup to be injured, you know, because you're carrying it. So that's a good analogy of what's in your purse, carrying baggage to your physical purse, right? So when we understand that we don't have to carry this around, Jesus Christ tells us, come ye all ye that are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Bring your burdens to me. So basically, not saying that sexual abuse or domestic violence is a burden, and that's not what I'm saying, but we can bring anything to him, right? And he can
Exactly.
help us. We have to surrender it all to him. But as you were saying, what you were holding on to was the residuals, the effects of your sexual abuse, your domestic violence, the shame, the guilt, the trauma, the unforgiveness. Because we have to also understand too is that sometimes people that do things to us, they're not going to ask for forgiveness.
No. And
And
forgiveness
you have
is,
people that are telling you, well, you just have to forgive. So the perpetrator doesn't have any responsibility.
well, sometimes I think forgiveness is not about the perpetrator, it's about us.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the people.
Mm-hmm.
Because you may not ever get you may not get an apology ever, but
Right.
life does have to go on, you know what I mean? So it's more like, okay, when I forgive this person, why should I'm the person in bondage. I'm holding on to something, they're free.
Mm-hmm. So is it
They're,
truly forgiving yourself for
and
forgiving
forgiving
yourself?
them, forgiving them so your heart can be clear.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I took it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't cause this. I didn't do anything. There's nothing I should
Right.
forgive myself. I didn't cause this. It
Right.
was done to me. But
Mm-hmm.
so I have to forgive them so I can be free. My heart can be clean.
Be free of the bitterness, the anger.
Right.
So it's
It's
about you. You you're not